Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual meeting of the Hyde Park Town Board. Today is Monday, December 7th. We have our regular meeting and 2 public hearings and a workshop. So thank you for joining us tonight, and like to open up the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so may I have a motion to accept the minutes of the November 16th meeting?
Make a motion.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we have a number of, or 2 public hearings on the agenda tonight. The first one is the public hearing on amending Chapter 102 of the Town Code in regards to timber harvesting, to provide in relevant part that a special use permit and site plan approval shall be required. So Donna, would you mind please reading that meeting notice for us?
Sure. Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park shall conduct a public hearing on the adoption of proposed local law app of 2020, entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 102 of the Town Code with regard to timber harvesting, to provide in relevant part that the special use permit and site plan approval shall be required for all timber harvesting activities covered by said chapter on Monday, December 7th at 6:05 p.m. A copy of the local law is posted on the town's website, the town's notice board, and can be inspected at the office of the town clerk during current office hours. For the governor's executive orders, the meeting and public hearing will be held virtually with no gathering at town hall and live streamed on YouTube. For remote public hearing procedures, please follow the link on our website. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park, dated November 2nd, 2020, Hyde Park, New York, Donna McGrogan, Town Clerk.
Okay, well, thank you, Donna. Did we receive any public comment on this particular law? Okay. And Warren, you gave a brief update on this at our last meeting. If you want to just do a quick review of how we approached this update to our existing timber harvesting law. Oops, are you muted?
Yeah, let me unmute. We have a timber harvesting provision in our town code now, and we had received input from the zoning administrator that the provisions that we had were in some respects unsatisfactory because it required only her to review and act upon the timber harvesting permitting. And that's not the way it's usually done in most communities that have timber harvesting local laws similar to ours. They're usually provided by special use permit and site plan approval by the planning board. So we were asked to make that change to the existing law to require that the application be submitted to the zoning administrator and then to the planning board for special permit and site plan approval. So that's the major change in the law. When I went over the law, there were some, I found it to be deficient in that there were no criteria and provisions for requirements for permitting that the planning board could impose. So I added those to the law. It's not a complete redo of the existing law, just an amendment to the law. It's quite possible that later on we may take another look at the law and make some other changes to it, but we wanted to get this into effect as soon as possible.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Warren. And we have referred the law to the planning board and county planning. And so we'll be adjourning the public hearing tonight until we receive those comments back. But I think I appreciate the attention that you paid to it. I think it'll be an improvement over our existing one without a lot of added complications. So Neil, has anyone registered to speak on this particular public hearing? No? Okay. So then may I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to, I'm not sure what we have in the resolution.
Yeah, you have that in the resolution. So when you
Okay.
pass the resolution,
So
that'll,
we don't have to, we don't
no,
have
you
to
don't
do
have to
it.
do it now. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks. So the second public hearing is a really important one, and I would like to thank the public for all their comments and input. We have spent a lot of time reviewing the contract with Altice, which is also known as Cablevision, and I'd like to welcome a number of people to our meeting. I'll introduce them shortly after I give a brief update. But we do have the public hearing notice. So maybe the way to start this rolling is to ask the town clerk to go ahead and read that.
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park will hold a public hearing on December 7th, 2020 at 6:10 PM to afford all interested parties the opportunity to be heard concerning the renewal of the franchise of Cablevision of Wappingers Falls Incorporated in the Town of Hyde Park. Copies of the proposed franchise renewal agreement are available for review in the town clerk's office at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York, 12538, during normal business hours and online at the town's official website. Any person desiring to be heard at said public hearing shall be given an opportunity to do so. Per the governor's executive order, the meeting and public hearing will be held virtually with no gathering at town hall and live streamed on YouTube. For remote public hearing procedures, please follow the link on our website. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park, dated November 16th, 2020, Hyde Park, New York, Donna McGrogan, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Donna. And Donna, can you tell us the list of residents who provided public comment via email?
Yes, there's Patricia Rothbart and Michael Karpoff, Ken Cavalier Click, Patricia Rothbart, Sherry Dingman, Sean Mader, Francine DeGrande, Sharon McHugh, Sharon Perino Bucco, and Ron and Kathy Raganetti. And those are all posted on the website as well, their comments.
Great, thank you. And Neil, we have several people that have registered for the public hearing, and they have been allowed into the meeting. Is that right?
That's correct. They're with us. We have 4 out of the 11 people who registered. So
Are in attendance?
yes, so maybe some other people will show up, but right now we only have 4 people.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all good. And I'll take a minute now to introduce the Cablevision Altice representatives. And thank you for joining us. And we have John Dooligan with Altice Cablevision, and Roger Connor, who I believe is more of a liaison consultant that works with the towns and then with Altice. Was that the proper description for your role, Roger?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Eileen.
Okay, good. Well, it's nice to see you both. And we go quite a ways back with Roger, actually. He was with Cablevision for many years and worked with us at Town Hall when we were addressing a number of inadequacies in our communication abilities. And many of those have been resolved, although we do still rather regularly get input that we have flaws in our sound and that there's some areas that we could have better clarity. So, we look forward to addressing those once we finalize the contract, if in fact we do. So, okay, I don't know if you would all, John, would you like to start off with a description or a statement? How do you typically handle the public hearings?
Sure, thank you. So I don't know to what degree if you led before we joined with any sort of open comments on the work we've done already, but if you have, then I'll leave that alone.
Well, I didn't really give a lot of introduction, but I could go ahead and do that if you like.
Well,
So,
Sure.
or would you prefer to do it? I guess is the question.
I could go over it, and where if you want to sort of jump in and let me know if you have some things to add, please. We can handle it that way if that works for you.
Okay, so well, just to give a little background, and every decade, the Cablevision Altice extends a non-exclusive contract to the municipalities throughout their is it three-state or four-state area that you operate in?
It's 21 now.
Oh, wow, 21. Okay. And so that is a franchise agreement. It's a non-exclusive agreement, but it does provide for the mechanisms that allow Altice Optimum to operate within a community. And it does lay out the price and various other technical details. And we've had the contract on our website now for several weeks and have received numerous public statements, and they basically fall into a variety of categories. And if you don't mind, I'll just go over them quickly with you, John and Roger. So, we've had many conversations over the last 6 months or so, trying to refine our agreement and address the residents' concerns that they've expressed to us. So during those conversations, we emphasized the need for better service and conveyed the consensus that the feeling amongst the community is that this service is inadequate. And I know that you had uh, often provided explanations to redress that. So we can get to that after I kind of convey the general plan. We also, during those conversations, asked for a plan to improve service. And there has been discussion on upgrading the fiber service throughout Hyde Park. So I'll let you get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. The other area, which is somewhat distinct from the actual service you receive, but it's customer service and the responsiveness that Optimum or Altice provides to their customers when there is a complaint or an issue. Pricing is another issue that we have gathered and experienced ourselves. People are looking for a better pricing. They feel that there is some aspect to an overcharge for the services that they receive. There's been a number of requests for senior discounts, and I did have a comment last night from someone who is in attendance seeking to have some sort of concession for seniors who are leaving, not just during the winter, but in the summertime. And then, particularly, this doesn't necessarily apply to you, but it applies to us as the town board, that people are concerned that our agreement with you excludes other companies from coming in. And I know that we have clarified that when we have met, and that is part of our agreement. And so I think that's kind of the introduction. I don't know that it's the broad introduction, but I did want to just get out there and allow you to address the concerns that we've had expressed. So with that, it's all yours.
Thank you. And you did a great job of explaining the agreement and the terms of it, sort of on a big, large scale. So I appreciate that. So I can get right to sort of the concerns that you laid out. As you said, we spoke at length for weeks, sort of on all those issues. I will say on the first part of the network itself. So we are we have a plan now where it's a 5-year plan. Now maybe a 6 because of this year was sort of lost with the pandemic and COVID. in terms of build out, but to build fiber to the home to every household within our footprint. So that's a commitment we made for the former Cablevision plant and network. So that means right now we have deployed a lot of the network upgrade in Long Island and portions of Westchester, and it's moving north and south and sort of going in that nature. And it will continue to go that way in that path. The company has made a big commitment, capital commitment to do this, and it's our number one priority. I'm on working group calls weekly to talk about progress and sort of help where I can to sort of move the ball down the court when it comes to getting permits and that sort of thing. So I can assure you that it is the top priority for the company, and this will sort of future-proof the network, so to speak. I did hear, as you said, some concerns about the future of the network, FiOS, that sort of thing, or Xfinity coming in. As you said, this is a non-exclusive agreement, so anyone could come in. Another provider can certainly come into the town and provide service. But from what I wanted to highlight is that we are, at the same time we're building out the fiber, we're also enhancing our existing network. So that means adding capacity. So with the pandemic, a lot of folks have the network has been overutilized because now, sort of the habits of being online have changed considerably, as we all know. So what we're doing is monitoring the network remotely and finding pockets where there might be some overcapacity or overutilization, and then we add channels, split nodes. We do some things to the network to address that. So while we have the existing plant, we are adding capacity there, and we are building out the new fiber to the home model. So that's sort of the first point. Now on the customer service side, and this in my view also includes field service. So we have started to add much more capacity in terms of hiring folks on the customer service side and the field service side. There was this year in particular, we were really hit hard on the customer service end. We had to rely on third-party care agents because of the pandemic. Some of our call centers were impacted. We had to shut them down. People had to move to working in home, and not only in home, but we had to rely on, as I said before, sort of third-party call centers to handle the volume while we were in that transition. So we realized that there was some work to be done ahead of that, but that exacerbated things, and the company has now taken real action and real dollars into really putting a lot of care into training these employees on the care side, and also adding folks in the field service thing. I think there was at one point when field service, there was a lot of text between repeat visits, and we track all those things and try to make sure that we, again, hiring more, training more, doing those sort of things, adding dollars to those, to both of those departments to kind of make sure that there's no more lapse or repeat visits or sort of dissatisfaction in, addressing concerns on service quality and that sort of thing. And pricing. So I know that pricing is another concern. That I will say that we're in the most competitive market in the nation. So that means if our pricing in Brooklyn is no different than the pricing in Hyde Park, it's all the same. So although there is concern with rising pricing, a lot of that relates to programming costs. So we have, made mentions to the FCC and to the federal side of the house to try to ask for some assistance, and not just us, but the entire cable industry, because a lot of eyeballs are changing, and the programmers that give us the content, we are the channels, the dollars they want are going up and up and up, even though, for lack of a better term, eyeballs are being spread around to different devices, right? It's not all on TV anymore. So we have that, we've been battling. But again, just want to highlight that if a FiOS or another competitor comes in, we already are in steep competition with them, right? So the rates you have in Hyde Park, again, are no different than they would be in New York City. So if another competitor comes in, the rates, the rates will not change, right? They're already looked under that microscope. So I'll just pause there and see if there's any questions or comments.
Okay, Ken, do you have a
John,
comment?
so I'm represent Ward 4. So you said over the next 6 years, and I know that we've heard this, and I know that the pandemic has set things back. Do you know when you're going to start laying some new cable down in Hyde Park? 6 years is a long time.
It is. The project is already 3 years into that 6-year time frame, so I don't know exactly what the timetable is for Hyde Park. I think my estimation is, I did speak with the construction team, and although they wouldn't give me an exact date because of the pandemic and trying to pick up, I think it would be in 2022 when we start to really build out in Hyde Park. I can stay in close contact with the town supervisor, of course, because we'll have to come to the town to get permits and, get buy-in on where we're going to put some cabinets and some equipment. So we'll have to be in close coordination.
And with you putting in new wires or whatever that is, what does that mean for service for the residents of Hyde Park?
So what that means is the service becomes less reliant on repeaters and devices to move the power or sort of electricity through the wire. So now it's glass, right? So the light travels faster, further. And so a lot of the equipment that's on the poles and sort of battery backup, those sort of things come away. So it becomes a cleaner system. And the end result to that is faster speeds, right? So that means in terms of internet, we're going to have 1 gig available, 1 gig. And by the time it comes to Hyde Park, I assume we've been talking about moving to 10 gigs per every single house. So the option to get that, right? Of course, there'll still be plenty of tiers to choose from, but we're going to have the option of 1 gig and then up to 10 gigs to every single home.
Gotcha. And then maybe in the meantime, can you upgrade all of us to the free higher speed internet since we don't have the great fiber network that we're looking for until 2022? Is there something that you can do to help the residents so that we can have better service?
So what I can do is, and what I've done already is talk to our network operations team to ask them to take a look at specifically Hyde Park. What do the nodes look like? What can we do to address, splitting nodes, as I said before, because a node is kind of a neighborhood level device, right? If there's too many folks on it
Right.
being used, they'll split it in two, they'll add upstream, downstream channels. So they are looking at that to kind of take action ahead of that, the fiber build out.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you.
I just had a question. With all the enhancements you just mentioned, do you have any idea what that'll mean for cost to the consumer?
Well, we don't anticipate that that's going to be a direct impact to the cost because that's something the company's bearing, just future-proof the network, so to speak. So there will be no direct impact on cost itself.
Good. Thank you.
Dave, do you have any questions? Dave?
Or do I have any questions?
Yeah. Do you have any statements or questions that you'd like to
A lot
add?
of statements and questions, but I was very disappointed with, I just moved about 8 months ago and I had to return my equipment, which they said I could do. But they said the technician would take it. But he raised his hands and said, no, I can't. You'll have to send it back. So I said, can I bring it to Wappingers? Sure. I went down to Wappingers. No, you can't leave it here. So the communication was terrible. I tried to get a hold of people to talk to about the Altice box, the new box you've got out.
Mhm.
And I couldn't get it functioning right. I got some of it working, the other I couldn't. I just wanted to talk to somebody, could not get a live person. And it was very frustrating. I had these, you type in on the chat and they type something back like they didn't even understand what I was asking. It was frustrating. Now, I know that's probably due to COVID, but that might have been your outsourcing at the time. The prices go up every year. I had to cut my package down. They actually let me just have TV and the internet now. I don't have to have a landline, which I don't need. They let me get rid of that without penalizing me. Before I tried to do that, and they wanted to charge me $20 more if I got rid of it because I was in a bundle. So it's just very confusing on what you're offering. The service.
Oh, sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, well, the price is through the roof. I'm looking at some of the comments we got today, and they were like, they pay a lot more than I do, and I don't know where else they're getting more than I do. But I think because I moved, I got a reduction, and in a year, the reduction goes away. It's kind of unfair.
John, are there issues that can be addressed within people's homes to improve service?
There are. So again, so sort of it's a two-pronged approach with, again, the capacity and usage that's happening. It's not something that, customers could really do on their own. I think it would be something that a service technician would have to come and we'd have to coordinate that. I think the best course of action, rather than individuals calling and saying, can you have someone come and just take a look? Because to be quite frank, there's an $80 charge if a tech rolls a truck now, and if it's deemed to be sort of nothing found on our end, you're charged $8. If it is something on our end that's the problem, we don't charge the charge. But my suggestion would be that if there's a handful of folks or however many having issue with internet specifically, because that's most likely what it is, that I'm happy to sort of help and figure it out and have a team go out and look at the individual homes, because that's the outside plant is one, as I said, the node splits, the channel upstream. The second part of that is once you correct the outside, you have to look at the inside. So there's egress and things that happen in the house that have to really be addressed if there's severe sort of issues on, and you'll mainly see that on the internet side of the house.
Is there ever a time when your router becomes outdated?
Yes, yes.
So how would a customer handle that?
So particularly when, now the agent should be telling you this, but I know that doesn't, always happen the way we want it to. But if you're increasing your broadband speed, you're going, most likely, if you've had it for 5 years, let's say, because this equipment goes out of date, it's life, end of life comes pretty quickly these days. So 5 years, granted, if you're having poor service, 5 years is a time you want to look for new equipment. You could call and ask them to swap. I think I'm sorry to hear that the walk-in center was not taking equipment. That seems very surprising to me, because that's really what they're there for. So I would suggest we go to walk-in centers and ask them for a new router, because, and if you're upgrading service, you're almost certainly going to need a new router, because once you get to the 100, 200, 300 tier and above service, you really need a new router or it won't handle the capacity.
Is there a charge for that?
There is a $10 charge for renting a router. Now you can get your own router as well. Now that's on our website. And I don't have the exact link now, but there are suggestions of ones we will work with, third-party routers like Netgear or something, so you can go and get your own router as well.
But if you don't opt to rent or you don't opt to buy one, is there a charge for replacing your router?
No, there's no charge.
Okay.
Can I ask about that $80 charge? You said that if it's not the customer's fault on their end, that they don't get charged the $80, correct?
Correct.
Personal experience, our modem was shot because of a power outage, and a technician came in and replaced the modem and charged us $80 for the visit. How is a power outage caused by Central Hudson my fault? Why is that the customer's fault?
Well, I don't know why you were charged. First of all, they should tell you when you call to ask for service or to report you have an outage. If they don't tell you at that point that there's a potential of the $80 charge, then they shouldn't charge you at all. You have to know about it first. So
they did say that there might be an $80 charge, but they just automatically went ahead and charged it.
Well, that shouldn't be either. Right? Like if it's our equipment that failed, then obviously you should not be charged the $80. The customer should not.
And that's where then you go through the problems with customer service, because then you call and you try to get an actual human being on the line, and that's been near to impossible for pretty much the last 5 months or so. It's really hard to get an actual person to talk to and be able to reason with and say, hey, look, I was charged. And I know that from a lot of the comments that we've received, there's a lot of people having the same kind of issues. I was charged for this, I was charged for that, my bill went up, and they can't talk to anybody about that.
And I've heard, obviously I hear those same complaints because I, handle a lot of the Hudson Valley region and north and all over the sort of the north of New York City is my territory. So I speak to a lot of municipalities and customers. And I will say that we have seen a big increase or positive increase in sort of handling of calls. So that certainly was the case for the most of this year, and especially during the storm and right after the storm. I know that was sort of those two combined was not good for us. But I know, looking at metrics that I'm a part of meetings and listen to, that they're telling us that more recently, because we've added staffing and added other things, that the calls are being handled by live agents now. They're not being sort of put on lengthy holds. That has disappeared. If these are recent comments that people are still having that issue, then I'd like to hear about it, because I'm sort of hearing the opposite when I'm at.
So on that note, and just I'll get right back to you, Dave. John has been willing to provide his email address directly to the consumers so that he can be contacted when they have issues. And if I recall correctly, John, you also mentioned in one of our conversations that there's a Facebook presence that you all have that you can message. Is that right?
That's right. So it's Twitter when there is Facebook, but I would say the one I would recommend is Twitter. And I'm just trying to pull up the handle right now because I have it here. And it is Optimum. Oh, excuse me. It's at Optimum Help. So the @ Optimum Help, all one word. and that's the Twitter handle you can go to as well. We also, as you mentioned, have the chat session on optum.net, which, you know, I've used it myself, and depending on what, if you want to pay your bill or do something simple, it's a good function. But if you get too technical, you know, at least in my experience, I would call or go to a walk-in center.
Okay.
I just want to mention one thing that I get a lot of emails, so I just don't want to expect. I do respond when I can, but what I typically do is when I get emails, I aggregate them and I send them to our corporate care team, and they handle and contact the customer. So just to clarify, I won't be calling and sort of setting up appointments with everyone, but I will make sure people, you know, we get it all together and get it to the right people that will.
Well, I thought when we had the discussion, the positive part of that is that when people do that, you're able to identify larger areas than just a single location, right? And as you discussed, like identify the node issues and be able to focus the repairs there.
Right, exactly. And so that's exactly it. I can look at a holistic kind of view of what's coming in from Hyde Park, and then, you know, together with what I just said, customer service answering calls and staffing up, that should handle the issues, along with us looking at it from a holistic basis. What needs to happen? Is it inside? Should we send a tech? So yes, that'll give us some more insight too.
Okay. Did another member, where did Joe go? I'm not seeing Joe. Neil, oh, there he is. And Neil, did you have any further comments?
No.
No? Okay.
Can we let
Aileen?
public
Yep.
speak up?
Yep, so we have a number of speakers here, and I'll let Neil call on them. I know Roberta, that's Roberta Brody there, and
Yes.
okay. Why don't you go ahead and,
Since you spoke up, you can start.
yes,
Okay.
provide your comments and just state your name, and if you would be so
Sure.
kind to limit them to 3 minutes.
Sure. It's a quick question. Roberta Brody. I live in an area where we do not have utility poles. Everything is underground. Now, if you're going to install fiber optics, will that be underground, or will we be getting poles?
So that will follow the path it is today. So if you're in an area where it's underground, it will have to go underground. To follow,
Okay.
we'll still have to follow the electricity lines.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. And
Sure.
Neil?
Sharon, would you like to? Yep.
Sharon?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Praise be to God. All right, cool. Good evening. I'm
Hi.
Sharon McHugh. I live in 11 Roosevelt Road, Hyde Park. To the gentleman, John, I want to ask you, I know I pay because my bill's right here for my phone is $34.95, 35 rounded off. But your Optima Online, which is only internet, and you're charging me $90, $89.99. Now I know they're both together, you know, the telephone line and cable, but why is it twice for then the phone? I mean, it's cable. Why does it have to be twice? Why can't you just charge me, okay, let's say $50 for internet? Why do you have to charge me 90?
I have to look at your bill to really understand the particular. I don't.
Sir, I wouldn't lie to you. I'm a Christian. It says it right here. Optimum Online. See?
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie to you.
I believe you. I'm just saying I don't know the particulars to answer properly. Like I'd have to take a look at your bill and see what other options there are. I don't set prices myself, so I can't really, speak to why internet is more. You said internet. Why is internet more expensive than voice service? Was that your question?
Why is more than expensive than phone? Because they're both cable. They're both in the same area. It's not like it's way out costing me more money. And just so you know, my late husband used to work for IBM on mainframes, so I know what BIOS and cable and all that is. So that is being, no offense, sir, not being very reasonable to people like me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I think what we could do. The best I can do at this time is take your information and see if there's something someone can do to help you lower your bill.
That would be nice, because I don't, honest tape, I don't have TV to you guys. All I have is internet, and you're charging me $89.99. But included with that is, by the way, ma'am, it's $10 a month they charge you for that router
Yeah.
and the modem.
So I think that I have given,
And thank you for giving me time.
Oh, thank you for providing comments, Sharon. So I'd like to connect you with John. Would you like to email your,
I have Sharon's email, so I can
you
just,
have John's? Okay, so
yes,
we'll
I'll
connect
just
you.
I'll forward it to John.
Okay, good.
Can
Okay.
can I just make one point? Is it'd be really helpful if folks email me, not just to give your email, but a phone number and your address, because that goes a long way with expediting things. So
Mm.
if you have phone number, your physical address, and obviously you'll be emailing this information.
Well,
So
I can give it to you now if you want. Well, my cell is 845-489-6609. And our address is 11 Roosevelt Road, Hyde Park, New York. And you can't miss us because I have our nativity scene outside.
Okay, well, thank you, Sharon, and
welcome.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to you too.
Hmm.
Okay,
Thank you.
James
take care.
McLaughlin.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Neil, do we have another?
James McLaughlin.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
My name's James McLaughlin. I live on Route 9G. I run a business called JTech Computers. And I deal with clients every day. And my mom particularly just had a problem. And I got to tell you that the Cablevision company and their support staff is gone from really, really good to very, very poor. I cannot, my mom moved from 54 East Market over into Kensington Estates, and they're still charging her 3 months after she told them to turn it off. And she's called over 4 times. And then I had to go talk to them. And the thing is, also around here, I like I said, I have an IT business. I do this for a living. I know how it's supposed to run. I know how it runs. I'm a Cisco certified engineer, and I get, it'll be nighttime, it'll be raining, and I go down to, you know, I'm supposed to be up at 4 gigabytes a second, and I'm getting less than 54. And it's really perturbing to me when I pay the extra money, and then when I call to get some status, what's going on, and I don't get anybody, or I do get somebody and they have no idea what they're talking about, and then they try to give me a snow job, and I'm paying over $300 for my cable. I don't know how you guys got all yours cable for under $100 or $120, but it's very infuriating. That's all I'm going to say. And I think that I don't know. I've called Verizon or Bios to see if they would come in the area. They said they were not allowed. I know I have been told that they're more than welcome to come in, but they have to build out their own infrastructure. I don't understand that, because as far as I know, where they are just down on East Dorsey Lane, they're using Spectrum's infrastructure.
Right.
So what is the difference?
So is that, I can start off by saying to your first part of your comment of if you email me again, your phone number and your physical address, I can have someone at least check out, because again, we'll take a look at these issues on the internet side that are really causing, very poor speed, because that obviously shouldn't be, and take a look why is that causing and how do we address it. So I'm happy to help with that. I apologize, it's been a runaround, but I'm happy to help correct that. On the file side, I don't want to speak for Verizon, but I will say, from what I understand on the industry side of the house, from reading industry newsletters and publications, is for a while now, they're no longer building out fiber. They stopped that a couple of years ago. The CEO said they're not building it. So it's not that they don't have permission. It's that they don't want to spend the money to build out fiber any further than they already have. A lot of the plant they have today, as you probably well know, is copper, and they're sort of maintaining it, at a basic level to just have it there. But I don't hear that they're having any plans to build out fiber.
So thanks, Neil, for sharing this letter that we received from Verizon after an inquiry last March. And, it is a rumor that is very persistent that the town will not allow another provider to come in. And, that's why we wrote to Verizon and asked them, would they come to Hyde Park? And this was their response. And so I don't know how else we refute that rumor. You have to, you'd have to ask them why. I mean, they pretty much said it very clearly that they're focused on maintaining their current infrastructure. So that's I think the answer to that second question that you had. But as far as the first question, and I think we might have lost the detail there. And I think you said that your mom was trying to cancel her service.
That's just an example. What I'm dealing with is I go to clients and I go in and they have a problem and I go to fix their problem. I'm ending up doing most of their customer support and trying to get to answers because they don't know how.
Yeah.
And Cablevision is doing a terrible job. And I'm not saying that, hey, if I got to do it, it's more hours for me, but I think Cablevision should really take a look at what their services they're, at least helping these people out. And then, then I feel bad for the prices that I'm charging for them to call me in, and then I have to deal with their headache. So it's just, it's something that I was, I wanted to come see what you guys were doing at the meeting. I saw the rollout of the fiber for the first 2 years during COVID. They're just coiled on the road and it stopped. I see the 5G modems that are on the poles and that stopped. I thought the company, somebody, this could be all rumor, but I heard the company that was in charge of installing that stuff just left and there's no company to replace them. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I know the equipment and what's going on with the install and I'm wondering where it is and when are we going to get satisfaction. 6 years is too much for a rollout of a town of Hyde Park.
I agree.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Nope,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Yep, appreciate that.
Thanks.
Don, you had said that you're already 3 years into the 6 years?
Yeah, right. Exactly. 6 years was for our entire tri-state area. So yeah, and we're 3 years into the 6. Yes.
Thanks.
Well, we hope that we're at the top of the list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't-
Kathy Raganetti, would you like to speak?
Hi, Kathy.
Surely. Hi. Well, I'm probably going to read because I get flustered when I'm talking. So I just wanted to thank all present. I know it can't be a pleasant thing to be in the hot seat, John. But I would like to discuss why Optimum has a policy for snowbirds to discontinue service, but not for any other times of the year. And I would like to request a policy adjustment that allows for other times, other blocks of time, such as summers or, any 3 to 6 month block of time to be able to discontinue service without returning all of the equipment each year. And actually listening to some of the things going on, it sounded like, well, number one, I thought you said 3 years into 6 years for fiber optic upgrade. But then I thought I heard you say something about Hyde Park maybe getting there at 2022. I'm not sure if I misheard that. And then the other issue was it sounds like it's an $80 gamble to get help or service from Optimum because they could decide that when they get out there to service you, it's your problem, not theirs, or vice versa. The $80 wouldn't be charged. So on behalf of my husband and myself, I thank you for consideration on this matter. And I'll refer to this as seasonal flyers instead of snowbirds, if we can.
Well, I can certainly look into, with our product team, what they have in store in terms of if they've considered seasonal rates beyond the traditional, just winter months. So I can certainly find out about that.
Thank you.
Don, you
I
frozen.
think you might have, his internet isn't working well.
He's frozen.
Don, get on the line with customer service.
He's frozen.
Call him up. You'll be on hold a long
Roger, he's
time.
frozen.
Oh, John.
Now he knows the feeling.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, Lord, that's too funny.
Well, I guess it's you now, Roger. You're on the hot, you're on the hot seat now, Roger.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Maybe he
And
needs.
the look
to-
that John has right now, that's what we all look like too when we're like on hold, like, oh God, no.
Yeah, like,
It looks like he signed off. He's going to probably try to.
yeah,
sign.
I'm sure he'll come back on.
It's probably a good time to put up his email address again, right?
I think so.
Just, you know, just as a reminder. And we do have one more person, Frank, but Frank will wait until John joins us again. So please be patient.
Okay, while we're waiting, I would just like to address one of the comments that we received via email. And it was a very on-point comment that Exhibit A of the contract needed to be fine-tuned, that there were some errors on it. And I thank Sharon Pranabuco for that comment. And Exhibit A is a list of those entities that receive free cable just for television. And they are schools, fire departments, and town business, town buildings. So we're going to be updating that Exhibit A prior to or as an attachment to the contract. And has John been able to join again? Because
He hasn't, no.
okay. Another comment that came through, and I do want to ask John to address this, is suggestions that we have a shorter contract, a 3-year contract. And I'm looking forward to John addressing that, but I think the reality is that the many millions of dollars that Optimum will have to invest into the town, 3 years is not going to cut it. And Roger, maybe you could address that. And I think also that probably the state to some extent controls the length of time that the franchise agreements are awarded for.
Yes. And you're right on target because the company needs to demonstrate that it has a long-term investment so that they can get the capital to do the upgrade and ensure that they do have that capital. So state regulation permits municipalities and cable operators to negotiate up to a 15-year contract.
Yeah.
But we have been historically doing 10-year contracts. And as you mentioned, they're non-exclusive. So any other potential cable operator like Fios could come into town and build another cable system. But yes, that's why we look for those 10-year contracts.
Is it generally related to density in terms of the investment? Is there a greater propensity to invest if there's a higher population?
Not only a higher population, but a higher percentage of people who are buying the service, as opposed to, say, a satellite dish or using a cellular service for internet.
So another area that was identified in the public input was, looking for greater accountability over time. And there are clauses within the contract that allow for us to request that. And I think that would really be beneficial for our customers if we had a plan going forward as to, having Optimum or Altice participate in a town board meeting, like biannually or something along those lines. I think that would really be helpful.
Yes, that sounds good.
Hi, John. Welcome back.
Just to follow up on that, Aileen,
Muted, John.
there is a provision in the franchise for performance evaluations that would give you that opportunity to bring the company in on a regular basis throughout the term of the contract to discuss the work that it's doing and the upgrades and the service that it provides.
So we'll follow up on that and ask that you participate, every 6 months or every year or on some schedule. But, just to kind of, address the complaints or the criticisms, or why don't we say the feedback, that, understandably upgrading the actual cables is a very expensive proposition with, as John mentioned, permitting and capital borrowing and all those things, but it does seem that a lot of the complaints center on the customer service, and it seems like that would be an easier area for you to focus on remedying, because that's basically people, it's not just people, but I mean, there is office space and all that, but it's certainly less expensive for Altice to have more customer service agents than it is for them to upgrade the actual infrastructure. So hopefully, we can get a commitment, or, just in terms of your providing feedback to those at a higher level, that, they should really be investing in that. So,
Can I just make one point on that? Just to
sure, yeah, would you, John?
So, and not that this is something that, I want to publicize too widely, but, since the storm took place, not just ourselves, but the storm meaning IASIS that took place in August, which impacted the company and, a lot of us, the company, not just us, but other utilities and other telecoms are under investigation in the New York Public Service Commission for what happened during that time. So we have certain remedies we have to abide by. Some of those we've laid out is doing just that, improving customer care. And we have to, it's a private matter, so negotiations are ongoing, but I will say, we are allocating dollars and commitments in that regard. So
good. That's great. Glad to hear that. So Neil, do we have another
Yes.
resident who'd like to speak?
Frank Gold, are you there? Frank?
Grab my water.
Oh, we lost Frank.
Frank? Can you hear us? You are muted. Well, in the meantime, Tim Hart, are you there? Tim, can you hear us? Tim, are you there?
Oh, I've had poor service over 3 months and have had 6 tech. Whoops, it disappeared.
Okay, so yeah, so Tim has sent us,
Providing it via chat.
Tim has sent us a chat. I've had poor service for over 3 months and have had 6 technicians at my house with no resolution. Today, another technician was supposed to show up but did not. I'm paying the same price for greatly reduced service and a total lack of customer service.
Tim, is it possible for you to provide your address so that John can look into that?
I have his contact info. He's at 25 Julia Drive. Is that correct, Tim?
Because, I think that, as John said, that he likes to look into the clusters to see if there's a particular infrastructure issue that can be addressed. Okay, so
that's his correct. So I'll forward you that information, John. Okay.
thank you.
And so last we still have Frankel, and Frank, he might have left us, might have left the room. Says he's still here.
He looks like he's still here. It's just
Yeah, I'm asking him to.
Oh, can I leave if I want to?
oh
Yep.
yeah, you don't have to stay.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon. Sorry, we didn't let you know that.
All right, thank you. Have
You
a
know
good-
how to get out? Yeah.
I don't know. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sharon. Bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.
You
Me
too.
too.
So I guess Frank, if you can hear us, Frank, to send in your comment. Comments are still being accepted to our town clerk for 7 days after this evening, correct?
Yep.
So you can send in a written comment, and that should wrap it up. We do have some comments on YouTube, but I can forward those to the town clerk, and we can put those into the record.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm just wondering how Altice feels about the impacts with like Apple TV and that sort of thing coming in where people might just wind up doing internet and canceling television altogether, how that impacts their investment into communities based on that may be coming up in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question because I think that's exactly why we're building out the fiber and having capacity of 1 gig to every house, because we are embracing it because we have no choice. Essentially, our broadband numbers are, meaning the number of subscribers we have, are more than our cable subscribers now. So that changed a couple years ago. And not just us, but that's a pattern that's happened across the industry. So yeah, we are embracing Apple TV. We're partnering with Apple to try to put out a new product soon. We have our the Altice One box, which has interface where you can stream other over-the-top services. So yeah, we are integrating that into sort of our product lineup in the future because we have to prepare.
Right. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Maybe things will improve then. See?
We're hopeful. Dave, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, it's the same one I've had for a while. I got an Altice One box new, right, when I moved. And I used to get Amazon's Prime Video I could watch on my television, but no longer. There's no app there for it. Did they have a disagreement with him or what?
No, I can still view it through. I'll take a look, but on my my Altice One box,
Sorry, so sorry. Whoops.
I have the ability to look at it. So let me find out what's happening just to make sure. I mean, as of this
the app is there, and when I go to press it, it says we're working on it or something. Or
I'll find out what's going on. I was able to use it, although actually let me take that back because I think I went through Roku this weekend. I was thinking I used Prime this weekend, but I may have gone through. I do, but I'll find out.
Okay, so Tim, did you want to read Tim's next comment, or I could just do it? When Altice was just Optimum, we were able to contact customer service locally or at least in state. Now all customer service is overseas and very unhelpful. Why is that?
So we do have call centers that are offshore. And again, we did lean on them heavily this year because of the pandemic and things I mentioned earlier. We are hiring again, as I mentioned, care agents here in the States. One of our call centers is, outside in Brooklyn and in the Bronx, and they're not as local as they used to be, but they're still here in the States.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the waiting room, Neil?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Well, again, Neil, did you have any other comments? Because Neil's been working closely with myself and John and Roger. I know that you and Roger met with Peter, our video guy, right? And you took a look at our equipment and assessed what we need to do to improve our transmission. Is that right, Neil?
Yep, to improve the video quality, the audio quality, to enable us to do a hybrid of Zoom and in person, which I think is going to be necessary moving forward, at least into next year, probably majority of the year, maybe even beyond that, because we found that Zoom does allow people to join us when they're miles and miles away. So we're going to improve our ability to present to the town our meetings, and I think it'll be great. It'll be a bigger improvement on Channel 22 and a bigger improvement on YouTube.
Okay.
John, I didn't check with the supervisor yet, but if you can move us to 2021, you'd get a key to our town and maybe even supervisor for the day. I didn't ask Aileen about that yet, but I mean, there's a big carrot there for you.
For sure. Get to spend time in town hall.
That's right. You can become supervisor for the day, John.
That sounds fun. All right. Well, barring that there are no further comments, I want to thank John and Roger for joining us and for working with us. And again, I think that you worked hard to address the issues. I know you're now very cognizant of how people are reacting here. So thank you. And we'll look forward to moving ahead. Again, just one final time, it's not an exclusive contract, and any other company is willing and is able to come in, we're happy to welcome them. So thanks again, gentlemen, and we will see you again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the comments. Thank you.
So we need to just do an oral resolution closing the public hearing and
Okay.
keeping it open for 7 days
Okay.
to the 14th for additional comment. And then barring any unforeseen circumstances, I'll work to prepare the appropriate resolutions for adoption of the contract at the next meeting.
So Warren, can we just close the public hearing like we normally do? Or are you saying we should actually have a resolution?
We'll do an oral resolution tonight. I wasn't sure how the public
Okay. Okay.
meeting
So
would end tonight. So
okay. So you'll just help us articulate that when we're doing the resolutions, or?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Thanks again. Please take care. Be safe.
Thanks,
Be
everyone.
well.
Take care.
Yep.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. So it looks like we're ready to roll into the resolutions, unless anyone had anything further they wanted to add.
We have a workshop.
is there a workshop?
Oh dear, sorry about that. Okay, let's get going on that.
Letting Sean in now.
So I'd like to, sorry about that confusion. Hi, Sean. Welcome.
Hi, well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Sean.
Sean is from Cornell Cooperative Extension, and he's going to talk with us about the culverts inventory throughout town.
Great, thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Great, well, thank you Supervisor Rohr and Town Board for having me tonight. Just take a few minutes to give you an overview of this project. So again, my name is Sean Carroll. I'm a environmental resource educator at Cornell Cooperative Extension in Dutchess County in Millbrook. I came to the town at the end of probably around fall of 2019 to discuss interest in developing a road stream crossing inventory and management plan for the town. It's part of our Climate Smart Communities work. I know Richard Maddox gave an overview of that at your last month's meeting, so I'll skip over that. But just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview of where this project came from. So I work as part of this Climate Resilience Partnership, which is a partnership between Cornell University, a number of the extension offices in the Hudson Valley, and the New York State Water Resources Institute. And they get funding through the Department of Environmental Conservation's Hudson River Estuary Program to do a number of climate smart communities projects with communities throughout the Hudson River Estuary. And one of them that I'm most involved in is helping communities to develop these culvert and bridge inventories and management plans. So just a quick overview of what these look like. This is a screenshot from the document I'm almost finished developing for the town. We'll have it done by the end of the year here shortly. So these are developed in partnership with the town, mostly working with highway staff, as well as some of the municipal staff and CAC. I want to stress that it came no cost to the town aside from a few hours of their time here and there. It's a complete inventory of all the culverts and bridges within the town, a prioritization of a number of the culverts, which might be looked at to improve, right size, or replace for two different scenarios, looking at improved aquatic connectivity and as well as reduced flood risk. And most importantly, the document is meant to be used by the town. It can be used for routine maintenance, planning, and most importantly, it really looks good as you're applying for funding for grants for culvert related projects. So I mentioned aquatic connectivity as being one of the kind of main goals that this process looks at. Hudson River Estuary Program is really interested in connectivity of rivers and streams that are potentially vulnerable to fragmentation. Looking at this from the perspective of not only fish, but also terrestrial organisms. Looking at three major goals: protecting, the quality of habitat, maintaining intact communities, and making sure to not disrupt ecological processes. Carrying that over to the culverts themselves, what that might look like, just so you have an idea of what some of the issues that we try to flag are such things as like an inlet or outlet drop where the pipe is actually perched up above the water level. Physical barriers, whether that be biotic or abiotic, and then a number of other crossing issues that may, prevent organisms from passing. And finally, with these indices, with these measurements that are collected in the field, which I'll get into, a barrier severity score is developed, and that can kind of help to prioritize certain culverts that might be targeted for replacement or improvement. So just a little background, the organization that kind of developed this assessment is referred to as NAC for short, the North Atlantic Aquatic Activity Collaborative, mouthful. But it's a network of conservation organizations, universities, and agencies across the Northeast 13-state region that's helped to develop this unified protocol that's designed for assessing these culverts in the field, entering them into a public database that can be accessed, and then developing these field assessments, as well as putting together in-person trainings and certification programs to make sure that the data that's being collected is of high quality. So for this project for the town of Hyde specifically, we kind of started way back in 2016. And by that I mean the Dutchess County Soil and Water and the DEC have been assessing culverts and bridges throughout Dutchess County, kind of working from the top down, north of the county, working their way down to the south over the past several years. Hyde Park was wrapped up, I believe, last year in 2019. And then, we've had a few meetings with the town, mostly with Howie, with the highway supervisor, and me as well, to look at some of the priorities in the town and to kind of keep them up with where I'm at with this process. We'll be wrapping up. I'm pretty much done with the document, and we'll, I don't, with this online meeting, I don't have the physical copies with me right now, but I'll be delivering those to the town before the end of the year, hopefully, or whenever is best for you all. And then just looking forward into the future, again, this is really meant to be a useful tool for you all for culvert maintenance, again, funding support, and potentially considering this as a formal, adopting this for the town. So kind of getting into some of the nitty gritty of what was collected when these culverts were assessed in the field. First, the potential culverts were mapped using GIS, an intersection where road and stream layers met. And then trained field crews, again, mostly soil and water, went out and assessed these culverts. By assessing, I mean taking observations of the crossing itself, so road type, flow condition, crossing alignment, and then also the structure itself. So that's the actual pipe, what material, the shape, dimensions, if there were potential damages to it or anything that might be disrupting flow. And then those assessments were logged into the database that I mentioned, and then we use those to help create this inventory. So this initial meeting that we had back in February, again, thank you to all who were involved with that. It's been very good to have the town's input on this, that we want to make sure, highway staff especially knows these culverts and these roads way better than I could ever know. So I really appreciate everyone's feedback with that. At that meeting, we gave an overview of the project and the timeline. We reviewed some draft maps for the town, and we discussed some, initial priorities, current projects, and projects. The next step was to model the capacity, the flow capacity and flood risk for each crossing. So this was done using GIS. Each crossing was analyzed for capacity and then modeled for both current and future conditions using GIS. And this was done mostly by Cornell University staff and some of their subcontracted hydrologists. The end result of this was creating a flood risk rating by storm crossing. So in other words, whether that culvert or bridge could pass, the 1 year up to 500-year storm. Next step was to take all of this huge batch of data that we get from the assessment to kind of distill it down and clean it up so that it's ready to go for the inventory documents and make sure that everything was accurate and looking good. We created the final document. So again, I'll be passing this over to the town shortly here. And what it looks like is the first section being an introduction with an executive summary of the document, discussing the methods and procedures, funding opportunities, if there are any current ones that are available, and then a section on the priority crossings that were both discussed by the town anecdotally and crossings that were flagged as potential for priority for aquatic connectivity or flood risk. And then the second half, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of the document, is the actual inventory itself. They'll be sorted, each culvert will be sorted by road ownership. Obviously, the town is mostly concerned with, town-owned roads, crossings, so those will be first. But we want to make sure that the whole community the whole municipality was included in here. So we have, county, state, US, and private included as well. And then each culvert, each crossing will have a number of associated with it. And this is just an example of what they'll look like. So that, it'll have a map of the culvert. It'll have some of the location information, the barrier evaluation that I mentioned. So for example, this is ranked as a moderate barrier, so not necessarily a high priority. And then each crossing will have upstream, downstream, inlet, and outlet imagery, as well as the flood risk information that I was mentioning. So it has the culvert capacity in cubic feet per second, and then it has the predicted peak for each of the return intervals. So this is your 1 to 100-year storm intervals, and then whether it would potentially pass or fail each of those storm intervals. Lastly, it has the measurements and conditions of all the crossings. So yeah, a whole host of information that are really useful. So just getting into the actual priority of it, this is kind of, the inventory is the kind of meat and potatoes, but we wanted to make sure that we were mentioning some of these priority crossings that could be of use for the highway department to look at first. Again, I realize flood risk is probably more of a concern for the town, and aquatic connectivity maybe less so, but a lot of cases these go hand in hand and can be looked at in conjunction. So I'll just end on some next steps. This is again meant to be a document that you take and run with, not something that just sits on the shelf. But I would recommend, we've had a few communities that we've worked with in the past that considered adopting this management plan or integrating it into if you have a local hazard mitigation plan, or potentially into the county hazard mitigation plan. Importantly, look for funding, and we will help with this process. We've assisted a number of other communities that we've worked with in the past to apply for funding for culvert projects. And again, this document really helps elevate you in that process. And I just wanted to highlight that there is certainly a wealth of funding out there. This year obviously has been unique with everything going on. Normal years, they're new EPIC, the Hudson River Estuary Program have a number of grants that might be applicable to, aquatic connectivity, water quality improvement, those kind of projects. And Again, as these come up, we're committed to helping communities that we've worked with in the past stay apprised of those funding opportunities. So with that, I'd welcome any questions from any of you all. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. What a tremendous amount of work went into this document.
Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's wonderful that we can actually have something that we refer to, and that so the grant funding is always of interest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to reviewing and shall we meet to do so, or how do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I mean, so how I'd see this going is, again, I'm going to wrap this up and get the documents themselves printed out here, hopefully in the next week or so that I can get them to you, whenever is appropriate for you. I know with everything going on, meeting in person is difficult right now, and if it doesn't happen until after the new year, so that's no problem. I'm in touch with Howie and Neil to some degree as well. I'm happy to keep that conversation going in the future as funding opportunities do come up, and we can help you apply for those.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Can you just tell us really quickly, do you have a general idea of what kind of work we have ahead of us? Are we in bad shape, or are we? If your head no good.
No, I would say, again, I've worked with, just comparing to some other communities I've worked with, I would say you guys are, most of your culverts are in pretty good condition. There's a few here, and Howie would agree with me. He has a few on his bucket list too. A few here and there that could use some improvement, but overall, I would say from an aquatic connectivity consideration, there was only a few, I think 6 or so that were considered severe barriers, ones that would really raise a flag, but the majority of them were moderate to insignificant barriers for that. So yeah, I'd say above average.
Excellent.
That's good.
Joe, did you have a question?
No, I just said that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you so much. And I look forward to discussing it a little bit more with you one-on-one.
Absolutely.
That's a great photo. Where were you?
That I'm sure the culvert here.
No, you just flashed a personal photo up. Sorry.
Oh, oh, it's part of the background.
Mountaintop.
Yeah, South Africa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know why my camera is so orange. It's weird. My apologies for that. But anyway, thank you all very much for your time. Aileen, I'll be in touch with you, Caroline, and Neil and Howie to continue this conversation.
Okay. Well, happy holidays to you. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you to you all as well. Thank you very much.
Sean. Thank you.
for coming.
Okay, so now we'll roll into the resolutions.
Okay. Just adjust my screen. Okay. Resolution 12-7-1 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to approve non-proton vacation carryover for Town of Hyde Park Personnel Assistant Sandra Bruna.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, resolution 12-7-2 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to appoint part-time police assistant Andrea Techmeyer to the Town of Hyde Park Police Department.
Second.
And I'm sorry, I was taking note. Do I have a second?
We
Second.
did.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, we're welcoming Andrea aboard. That's going to be great for the town.
Yes.
Resolution 12-7-3 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Clerk Donna McGrogan to attend the Association of Towns virtual training, how to conduct an organizational meeting on Thursday, December 17th, 2020.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Resolution 12-7-4 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to authorize the release of a road opening bond for River Ridge Associates LLC, road location Hudson View Terrace to Hewler Cul-de-sac, Hyde Park.
Second,
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Resolution 12-7-5 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Board to approve the amendment of the road construction letter of credit for River Ridge of Hyde Park, FKA Maple Ridge.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just to bring everyone up to speed, River Ridge has applied and received a building permit to build, I think it's Building S. But if anyone has had the opportunity to go down to River Ridge, it's really becoming a very attractive development. They've built a beautiful clubhouse, and I had the pleasure of meeting with the construction team last week, and it's a very nice project, and I think it's going to fill a housing need that we have here in Hyde Park. So
Where is River Ridge, Aileen?
it's just north of the center of town, just north of Vanderbilt's on the way to Statsburg on the
That's
left.
what I thought. Yes.
And yeah, they've had I don't know, 5 or 6 buildings up for a number of years.
Yes.
Actually, a very old project. It's been around since like the late 80s. So it's good to see it on the road to completion. And as I said, they've built a beautiful clubhouse. They have a pool. And I want to thank Warren and the highway super for, and the town engineer for really, and the applicants for working with us to update their road bond. Because it was really, sorry, I have some confusion in the other room there, sorry. Hey, girls. Sorry, the family's home. Yeah, the purpose of this resolution is to update the bond to the level of which contemporary pricing in the event that they did not finish the road. So
Right.
everybody
you.
for participating.
That's exciting.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Resolution 12-7-6 of 2020. Resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Supervisor to execute and agree to the assignment, assumption, and contribution agreements between New York Solar and various limited liability companies of the pilot agreements for Michael Athanas, Hyde Park Equine 129 LLC, and Cattle 133 LLC, and certain agreements to guarantee decommissioning and stormwater management facilities among these same entities.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
resolution 12-7-7 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Supervisor to execute a contract renewal for 2021 with Loop TV and Film Inc. for webmaster services for the Town of Hyde Park.
And do I have a second? And all in
Is he
favor?
reputable, that guy?
No, he's not.
So Neil is going to recuse himself from this vote, but the remainder of us, are we all in favor?
Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
yes, I am.
Any opposed? Okay.
9.
Resolution 12-7-8 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Supervisor to submit Nung Prutunk the 2021 New York State Office of Children and Family Services Youth Development Grant through the Dutchess County Department of Community and Family Services for the Town of Hyde Park Recreation Learn to Swim program.
Second,
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 12-7-9 of 2020, resolution authorizing the Town of Hyde Park Town Supervisor to apply to the Hudson River Valley Greenway for an additional extension under the 2016 Greenway Conservancy Trail Grant Program.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 12-7-10 of 2020, resolution approving budget revisions to the Town of Hyde Park budget for the period November 2020 budget revisions number 2020-11.
Second,
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
resolution 12-7-11 of 2020, Resolution concerning closing the public hearing process for adoption of local law F of the year 2020 entitled a local law amending chapter 102 of the town code with regard to timber harvesting to provide in relevant part that a special use permit and site plan approval shall be required for all timber harvesting activities covered by said chapter.
And
So let me just pipe in. I misspoke when we discussed this originally. We are closing the public hearing, even though we haven't received feedback from formal feedback from the planning board and Dutchess County Planning. We're permitted to close the public hearing even without those responses. And we're leaving the public hearing open for a period, public comment period open for 7 days. If for some unforeseen reason, we get comments from planning board, which I don't anticipate, or the county planning, which causes us to make a change to timber harvesting law, we can always reopen the public hearing.
okay, so do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
So-
then we would need a, I'm sorry, Neil, go ahead.
I was going to say, do we need to officially close the public hearing for the Altis agreement?
Yeah,
We did
we-
not.
let's, Warren, you want to do an oral resolution?
Yeah, for the
All two-
franchise agreement. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be a, what's the next number? The resolution
12.
12. And this would be a resolution closing the public hearing on the franchise renewal agreement between the town of Hyde Park and Cablevision. And it will be whereas, a public hearing was held on the proposed franchise renewal agreement between the town of Hyde Park and Cablevision on December 7th, 2020. And whereas, the public was heard on the at the time of the public hearing, and whereas, the town board has determined that the agreement is an acceptable form to move forward with adoption, except for the amendment to the one of the exhibits. Now, therefore, be it, and whereas this is a type 2 action under seeker, now, therefore, be it resolved, the town board hereby closes the public hearing on the franchise renewal agreement and schedules this matter for December 21st for purposes of adoption of a resolution approving the franchise renewal agreement.
So I make a motion to add that.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we'll go ahead and vote on that same resolution.
I make a motion to vote on that.
Second.
You're not going to repeat the resolution?
No, Donna got it all. So I
Donna's
put-
got
she
it
was
all.
reading it down.
I can tell.
Word, every word.
Word,
Every word.
even when you said comma, I saw her going comma. It was great.
Even when you say you know, she gets that too.
Okay,
yes,
so, and do I have a second on that? We do.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sure Donna will,
If you need any more details, I'll be around.
all right, great.
I'm only getting a recording of it.
Okay, so I'm just going to do 2 quick updates. Today, we had our weekly conversation with the county executive and all the mayors and supervisors, 911, Department of Health, and as most people realize, COVID is on the upswing. The number of hospitalizations has doubled since last week. So there is concern, alarm might be too strong, but if numbers continue to increase at this rate, it really would not be sustainable. So, I join with the county executive and all the other county officials, just asking people to please be on their utmost vigilance in guarding against sharing or acquiring this awful virus. Please make sure to wear your mask. Please make sure to stay home if you have any signs of COVID. And, please do try to keep your gatherings small. It's the next 8 weeks look like they're pretty scary. So, the county executive asked that all the mayors and supervisors share that message. And so, of course, we feel strongly in support of it. And then the second is just a real quick update on the Hyde Park Motor site. It's on everyone's mind. It's such a prominent corner. And as many people know, they have fenced the property in preparation for demolition. Today, I met with the contractor, Versage Contracting, and our building inspector, and was very impressed with their professionalism and how well this whole process has been thought out. They are in receiving approvals through the Department of Labor, who actually controls asbestos removal, because that will be the first step. So the building has been fenced. It's been posted for no trespassing. It's very important. People do not go in the building for any reason, because during the testing process, the asbestos becomes somewhat dislodged from its prior condition. So it's all very highly regulated. There's files this thick of paperwork, permits, directions. And so their process is to remove the asbestos and be completed with that on December 23rd. Once they receive approvals from the EPA and Department of Labor, they can then proceed to the actual demolition, which will happen in sometime in January, beginning in January. And, they've had these permits for many months, and it was just a matter of having inspectors come, and there was lots of backup because of COVID. So again, I know people are very concerned that this is being monitored and managed, and I felt really reassured after our meeting today that it is. And, I think the other question that is on everyone's mind is what's going there. And we don't know the answer to that question because we do not control that. And, we have zoning that lays out what people have to do when they do make an application. It tells what kind of uses are allowed. It tells how things have to be built out to the street, or how many parking spots, and that's all governed by the zoning code, which is Crossroads Core. And we had created that zoning a number of years back to encourage development on that site. There's a lot of latitude in terms of the building height. It's up to 3 feet. The setbacks are very small. That many uses are allowed. We increased the density for that location to allow a higher number of residential units to be built there, because that's really what we would love to see. And we don't know, though. We don't know the answer to the questions that everyone is asking, which is, has it been sold? I don't believe that. Actually, we do know the answer to that. I don't believe that it has, because the contractor is working for the current owner, and there has not been any transfer of the title, and that would be something that we're aware of. But is there a proposed use? We don't know that. So again, the limitation on that site has to do with the property owner's sale price, and that we don't enter into that arena. That's not between us and the property owner. That's between he and his customers, his banker. I don't know, but in any case, we're really hopeful that he does have a good developer, and just wanted to definitely reassure the public that it is being properly managed.
Great. And you said height for that area was 3 feet. I believe you meant 3 stories.
Oh, did I say 3 feet? Okay.
Yeah.
35 feet, 3 stories. Yeah.
It'd be real short.
Yeah.
He's the right size for me. I don't know. So we'll see. We're all looking forward to that. And as a further update, we have been discussing with Belfield an update of their concept plan, and they do hope to come to the town board and provide an update in sometime in January. And, we're really looking forward to that proceeding as well. Okay, and we had a great event last night. The Merry and Bright was a tremendous success. Want to thank all the participants, especially our wonderful rec leader who organized it, and all the wonderful businesses and residents who really dressed up their homes. And it's been a fun time in Hyde Park, and it's we're looking forward to the decorations being put up through the rest of the month. And then on December 20th, we will have we will award the winners. And we have a number of gift baskets that have been donated. So it was great.
And Peter, our video guru, made a video. It's up on our YouTube channel, and it's been posted to Facebook, and I'll add it to the website. But it's a wonderful little capsule of what went on last night. So,
Oh, good.
Very nice.
Check it out.
It was
And
really
keeping the Christmas theme going, I spoke to Howie today, our highway superintendent, about Christmas trees. And again, he and his department will be picking up Christmas trees from residents. We'll do that through January 15th. You can leave them out at your curb. It is best, if you'd like those to get picked up sooner, to please call our highway superintendent's office at 229-9416 when you leave them out. Please make sure there's no lights, ornaments, or bags on them. And we do not collect artificial trees. These are all trees that we recycle and use throughout our parks in our town. So it's another great service that our highway department will be offering again this year. So
Okay,
thank you,
great.
Howie.
That's
Good.
Howie. Okay. With that, may I have
Make
a
a motion.
to adjourn?
Make a
Second.
motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Take
Good night.
care,
Yeah.
everybody. Be
Safe.
safe.
Take care. You be safe.
Bye.
right.